going on, people? Mike C-Town here, Dead in Hip Hop, here with another solo album review. And today I'm going to talk about the album Dark Comedy by Open Myke Eagle. I've been a fan of Open Myke Eagle since I saw him play in Atlanta at 529. I don't remember who he was with. I want to say it was probably Bus Driver, but I'm not positive. But I thought he was incredible, and I ended up buying some EP that he was selling, this tour-only EP that looked like a floppy disk. This is it here. It's the Rent Party extension presented by the Open Enrollment Tour. So yeah, pretty cool. I listened to that, was blown away, immediately went and grabbed up everything else I could find by this guy, you know, and I was instantly obsessed with Rappers Will Die of Natural Causes. It had a really interesting sound that was totally new to me, and I always say it's dope when you can find a rapper that is still able to make rap weird, you know, without trying too hard. You know, I was excited to hear that this album was coming out, but honestly, with the jumble of everything else I had going on, I totally forgot about it, you know? And then I saw DJ Jazz Pants, and I believe it was NASA maybe, or maybe Primrock, somebody else, talking about this on Twitter, and I was like, oh shit, yeah, I need to check that album out. So I went online, listened to it immediately, and off the first listen, I knew that this was going to be one of my favorite albums this year. It ended up being in our mid-year top 5 video on Dead in Hip Hop, and it was also in Ken's top 5. And we rarely agree like that on music, so that should mean something. This album starts off great with the first track, Dark Comedy Morning Show. It had that great production. I love the guitar sample with the glitchy drum sound, you know, and his voice just fits so perfectly over this odd, glitchy, like almost slowed down Matmos-ish sounding stuff. You know, and then of course you get his trademark stellar delivery and wordplay. Rap like Wyatt versus Chet in Weird Science. I absolutely love his way with words, like on the song Qualifiers, which is one of my favorite tracks on this album. I see the deepest greens, I hear the darkest blues. You start to think at first like, oh, here we go, he's gonna be deep on some like third eye shit. But then he follows that up with, might not be synesthesia, might be apartment fumes. That's that awesome Open Myke Eagle wordplay, but humor thrown in there and twisted up and mangled. He continues on with some great lines like, you know, fuck you if you're a white man that assumes I speak for black folks. Fuck you if you're a white man who thinks I can't speak for black folks. Let that soak in your rap quotes. Like, does that even really need explaining? I also love what he does with the hook. You know, we're the best mostly, sometimes the freshest rhymers. We're the tightest kinda, respect my qualifiers. Like, he's kind of turning the whole, like, hip-hop braggadocious thing on its ear, right? Like, yeah, we're dope, maybe. It's like a humble brag, right? Or it's more like saying, yeah, we're nice, but that's not all that rappers should have to talk about. That leads into the story about going to Africa and the program director being genuinely confused by his music because it wasn't what typical rappers from the United States talk about. He said, what type of rap is this? Ain't no bitches, hoes, and I ain't even being funny, homie didn't know. Like, it's interesting to think about that, like the way others perceive us overseas, and Open Myke Eagle is really putting it out there like that's not all that we should be about. But it was the line in the next song that told me that I absolutely had to review this album. In Thirsty Ego Raps, he says, I'm president of the rappers that don't condone date rape. Being a fan of Open Myke for some time, I can say with certainty that this is not just a simple punchline. You know, I love that he takes the time out to make a statement like this. You know, something not many rappers would be bold enough to say, you know, for fear of being called gay, of all things, or soft, or pussy, or whatever other silly, you know, stupid insult slur that people can throw at men who dare to make statements that support women. I love the way he comes up with new ways to say things, like the song Very Much Money. I like how he's kind of talking about the idea of people being special and being able to do certain things but remaining outside of the rich upper class. My friends are superheroes, but none of us have very much money though. He's saying, you know, basically the lack of money doesn't diminish the person you are or the things that you can do. You know, I love that mentality. You know, he goes through a list of all these great things that his friends can do. You know, of course, they're probably metaphors, but judo, yoga, photography, magic, comedy, but none of them have a lot of money. You know, why? Because those things are not instantly valuable. You know, material goods are just that. Material, disposable. Your talent, your ideas are invaluable. So I like how he weaved that into that song. Idaho is another great song. Ken mentioned this in our mid-year video. It's about doing a long drive at night and the other people in your car have all fallen asleep, so you're the only one awake and you're stuck with nothing but your thoughts. And it reminds me of being on tour with my band, and I don't remember where we were going, but I remember we let our guitarist Eric drive, and the rest of us went to sleep. Now, granted, I was riding shotgun, so my dumbass should have stayed awake. That's the rule, but I drifted off. What woke me up was the van driving off the side of the road and hitting those lines that make that blub 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 sound. I look over, this dude is actually putting his finger out the window and getting condensation off the windshield and sticking it in his eye to stay awake. Now, I don't know if this was just because he was tired and delirious or if he really thought that this was going to work, but this was one of the most terrifying things I've ever been through. Another favorite line is from Death Made Black, where he says, "For any man to ever say another man is irrelevant is an ant trying to grow a trunk and dance like an elephant." One thing about this album is when you first listen to it, it may sound silly. You know, you may not really pay that much attention to what he's saying. You know, without looking at the lyrics, it may seem that Open Myke is really just saying some random shit that doesn't really have any deeper meaning. But once you sit down and you really dig into the songs and you analyze what he's saying, you'll hear a lot of serious gems in his lyrics. The production of this album is all dark, a bit experimental, but nothing too eyebrow raising. You know, a lot of the beats are nicely layered, like the one on Golden Age Raps, but the layers are so well done that they're almost unnoticeable, right? Like they all blend in perfectly to make these really, really interesting beats. You know, you have some really mellow and airy beats like Very Much Money, and you have some that almost resemble like trunk knockers, like Doug Stamper with Hannibal Buress' crazy ass. Then you have beats like the one on Sad Face Penance Raps that are so off kilter that you'd almost wonder how someone's gonna rhyme over this. And that's the thing that can easily be said about Open Myke Eagle. No matter what the beat sounds like, he is going to make it sound super smooth and effortless. The brilliance of this album to me is easily in its subtlety. You know, it's artsy, underground hip-hop that's totally weird, but not too artsy to be inaccessible. You know, it's not too weird to the point of being off-putting, but it's also a lot poppier than your run-of-the-mill indie rap, but not too poppy to where it's overly accessible and in turn boring. Open Myke Eagle straddles that line so unbelievably perfectly that it easily makes this one of my favorite albums of the year. I think it was at number 4 when we did our mid-year video, but man, it's slowly creeping up to a higher spot. You know, Open Myke Eagle is right now one of the most interesting songwriters and lyricists in the game, and I really think that a lot of people need to listen to this album because it's fantastic. And I think it can appeal to a lot of different demographics within not just hip-hop, but music in general. I haven't gotten a chance to yet, but I need to pick up this album on wax. They have this beautiful yellow and blue vinyl on the Mellow Music Group website. So you guys need to go look at that because it's gorgeous. At the very least, buy it on CD, buy it digital, listen to it, go see this dude live. Like, support this type of hip-hop, man, because it's really important that we get behind rappers who are trying to do different types of rap. And of course, go check out the whole Hellfire crew with No Can Do, Bus Driver, Milo. You know, these guys are really doing something really interesting within rap music. So yeah, that's it. Make sure if you've heard this album, you leave me some comments. Let me know what you thought. And as usual, thank you for living, thank you for loving, thank you for being you. And I will see you guys next time. All right? Peace, bitches.